Hi everybody, welcome to my craft room. I'm Corinne Blackstone and I'm so happy to have you here today. In today's video, I'm going to show you how you can actually use your Cricut Joy to make your very own sticker sheets. This is actually a lot easier than a lot of people think, and while the Joy is not technically made to do print and cut in the traditional way, we can absolutely trick it or hack it to do it. So you'll need some sort of printable item. Now this does not have to be stickers. You can absolutely make some printable cardstock things. So you don't have to use stickers, but I'm using a glow-in-the-dark sticker sheet. You will need the pen for the Cricut Joy, any color of your choosing, but a darker pen is going to work best. And then you're going to need a mat. I recommend the longer one because you're going to waste a little less material using the longer one. You'll also need the 5-point blade that comes with your Cricut Joy. You don't need any like special blade or anything. And of course, the Cricut Joy. Now I'm going to show you all of the steps to do this. There are a few, but don't get scared. It's really easy. And you're also going to get a free template to use to make this a little bit easier on yourself, which you can download at CorinneBlackstone.com/joy stickers. Now let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that we need to do in order to make these stickers with our Joy is to give us a template area to lay the stickers on. So what we want to do is we're going to open up a shape and just use a square. You're going to be able to do this completely for free, so don't worry, you won't have to pay for Design Space access for this or anything. So what we'll do is we've got a 2x2 square. I need to make this 4x8. So I'm going to go up here to the top where it says size, and you're going to unlock this lock button. That's going to allow us to change the scale. I'm going to change the width to 4 and the height to 8. Now you might need to adjust that if you're using the shorter mat, but I'm going to use the longer mat, and this is pretty much about as big as we can go as far as like print and cut, because that will come into play in just a moment. Now I want to change this rectangle over to the pen, and we're going to draw this on to our Cricut Joy Mat. Next thing I need to do is make sure that I have my Joy selected up here in the upper right. So I'm going to go here and go to Cricut Joy, and then click Make, and it's just going to ask me if I want to save the project. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and we're going to save this as Joy Sticker and click Save. Now once it's saved, it'll take us over onto the screen that's going to show us what it's going to look like. So what you'll see here is this is the rectangle that it's going to draw. Now I wanted to draw it directly on to our mat, so I'm not going to put anything on my mat. I'm going to take you over to the machine, show you how to load the pen, and then how to allow this to draw. We need to load our pen. You need to use your Cricut Joy pen. I'm going to open this up, take out my fine point blade, and I want to just put my Cricut Joy pen in, and I'm going to drop it down until it can't go any further, then close this clamp. I'm going to load my mat with nothing on it, because remember we want it to draw on the mat. I'm using an off-brand mat for this because it's like perfect. There's a little bit of dog hair, so hopefully that's not in the way. But what it'll do is it's going to draw directly on to our mat. Simple as that. We're done. So this is our little guide as to where to place our stickers. Now before I do anything else, I want to take my pen out and I'm going to close it up, that way it doesn't get dried out, and I'm going to take this and unload it. Now that we've drawn our rectangle, which I know is a little hard to see for you guys, hopefully you can see it if I like turn it a little bit. We're going to use these funny Halloween ghosts from Creative Fabrica, so all you have to do is click download. If you don't have a Creative Fabrica subscription, these will cost you money, but if you have one and everything's included, it just makes life so much easier. So I'm going to go ahead and put these into my folder. I'm going to call this Joy Stickers. And I spelled wrong, I don't care, and then click Save. Now we need to make sure that we do in fact extract this, so open up your folder. You want to click Extract All and then click Extract. Once the folder's done extracting, you'll be able to use all of your images, and you can see that it gives us a cute little preview of each of our little adorable ghosts. Now it may take a second to load, but once that's done loading, we're going to use Canva for this, and you can do this completely for free. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go to canva.com, And all I want to do is create a custom size, which you can do up here in the upper right. Click custom size, and then you want to go to units, change it to inches. You want it 4 inches wide and 8 inches high, and create new design. Now you're going to receive this kind of rectangle that looks just like the rectangle that we have in Design Space. Now, no matter how many times I tried to get Design Space to allow me to make a border around this image, it wouldn't do it, which is why we're going to do it here in Canva. I'm going to provide this for you completely for free, so you don't have to do this step, but if you want to learn how, we're going to go here. I'll link where you can download this free down below in the video's description. So what we'll do is we're going to go over into Elements, and we are going to grab a shape. We're just going to grab a square. And what I want to do is I'm going to make this square the same size as our design. So I'm going to go to Position, and you can change it right here to inches. So I'm going to go 4 inches wide and change this to 8 inches high. Now I want to add a border to this, which I can do right here with this border tool. Now you do want a pretty decent size border, but it doesn't have to be like huge. 4 can be a little thick. You can actually go down a little bit. You don't want to go to like 1, but 3 should be just fine as far as your border is concerned. Now I'm going to get rid of the color. I'm just going to make it white, and you'll see here that we have this great little, box to use. So now that I have this little bordered item, I can either create my stickers on here if I want to, or I can do it over in Design Space. I prefer to do it over in Design Space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to download this. So if you're going to do this yourself, you're going to click download where you share, then you're going to click download. You want to download it as a PNG, and then you can click download. Now this might take a second to process. Once it does, I'm going to save it in here, and this is going to be template for Joy sticker, and click save. Then we'll head back over to Design Space. I'm going to browse for the image, and I'm going to upload it into my Design Space. Click continue. Now this step is a must. You need to remove this white background, and you can do that by just clicking on it. You don't need Design Space access. Then click apply and continue, and you want to save it as the center single layer option and click continue. Then just click upload, and it's going to upload the rectangle into your Design Space. Now it's going to upload huge. This is just something that Design Space does because it's insane. So what I'm going to do is change the width down to 4 and just make sure that that height is 8. Now you can see the difference in thickness, and that's totally fine. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to scooch this over. This is the one that we're going to be working with. So we need to upload those cute little ghosts that we downloaded into Design Space so that we can use them to make our stickers. Click upload, and then you can upload the image, and you can drag and drop your files. Now from here, you can go in and choose whichever ghosts you want to put in here. And what's nice about these are PNGs, so they already have a transparent background, so we don't have to do anything. You just click continue. Then you're going to click apply and continue once the ghost loads. And once you've clicked apply and continue, it's going to bring up this convert upload to. I want to do a flat graphic, which is for print and cut, and click continue. Now it's going to upload it again. You're going to have to like options to change names and stuff. So I'm just going to call him like Peace Ghost and click upload. Now that's just an optional thing. You don't have to do that. It's going to bring it directly into our Design Space canvas. So I'm going to load a couple of more images, and then I'll show you our next step. Once I have all the little ghosts into Design Space, first off, you'll see that they loaded absolutely enormous. So what I'm going to do is select all of them in my layers panel and just change their width to like 3. That way they're smaller and easily manageable. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I want to add them to the rectangle. Now we're probably going to need to size them down a bit. That's totally okay. So I'm going to size them down to whatever size I think would be appropriate for my design. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of play around, stick them on to my sticker sheet. And then I'm going to show you the next step that's going to help us, because these have a lot of elements that kind of stick out the sides of them, and we don't want those to cut individually. So I'm going to show you how to fix that. But I'm going to go ahead and lay these out really quick, and I'm going to probably duplicate a couple of them just so that we have them, and we can just kind of fit a few extras on to our sticker sheet. That way we don't waste a lot of material with this. So we may have a little bit of waste space, but that's okay. I'm just showing you how to do this. You can fill it up a little bit better. Now, what I'm going to do is I want to change the color of my canvas, and I'm just going to change it to any color at all. It doesn't matter what color. You can do green, you can do yellow, you can do whatever. It doesn't matter. But we're doing this so that what we can see is our offsets on our ghosts. So I'm going to grab one of the ghosts and I'm going to add an offset. Now, I don't want an enormous offset. I want something a little bit smaller. It doesn't have to be huge. Now, this one's going to load pretty big, and sometimes they do take a minute to load, especially on like a PNG that is a little bit larger. But what I want to do is size it down a little bit, and we're going to let this load. Like I said, it might take a second. I'm pretty happy with that 0.11. I think that looks really good. So I'm going to click apply. Now, it is going to come out black. Don't want it black, so I'm going to change it to white. And simple as that. Then the next thing I need to do is select the sticker and the offset, and I need to tell it to flatten those because that's going to make it one piece. That way Cricut won't cut around the ghost. It'll only cut around the white offset. I'm going to go ahead and offset the rest of our little ghosts and then show you how to lay them out onto your sticker sheet. I have to pivot a little because the offset is just not working on these last two. So we're just going to not use them. It's fine. We'll just use these three. It's still going to give us the same idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color of our background. You saw I had it changed before. That was so I could see the offset. So I'm going to do the same thing here just so I can see the offsets better. So I make sure that they're not over the line and that they're not over each other. So I'm going to make these a little bit smaller, I think, as well. They're a little bit big for the Joy. So we're just going to make them a little smaller. And you can see here that all I'm going to do is just kind of size them down a little bit. And I'm going to make a few of them. So I'm just going to do Control C and Control V to copy and paste the little ghost. And then I'll do the same thing down here. And we're just going to kind of fit a few of them. We don't have to do a ton, but I do want to try to fill a little more space. And so I'll size some down just so that they will fit within our area here. And like, you don't want them to overlap at all, because if you do, then they won't cut correctly. You'll get like little overlap pieces, and we definitely don't want that. So I'm just gonna kind of fit in a few more, and we'll just make another one of this guy. It's fine. All right, that's fine. It's good enough for now. We're just showing you how to do this. I could probably make this one a little bit bigger. All right, I think that's pretty good. I don't see any issues with this right here. So I'm gonna go ahead, and the first thing that I want to do is take all of these items right here, so all the flatten items, and I want to flatten them all together. You could use attach as well, but I prefer to use flatten because then it becomes just one layer and it's just a little bit easier to work with. But what that does is it tells Design Space not to move anything around, and it also tells it that I only wanted to cut around these offsets because remember we took the background off of the square that we have our outline. That outline is going to come into play. Now I want to hide this here, this square, and I also again still just want to make sure that I have the Maker or the Explorer or the Joy Extra selected for this next part. Once we've done all the flattening and everything, we can hit Make It because we need it to print. Now, what it's going to show us is our print screen, which, like I said, we can't do this on the Joy, but we can do this on the other machines. So I will say that doing stickers on the Joy is definitely a material waster, but totally can be done. So I'm going to go ahead and click Continue. And from here, what I want to do, I'm using an A4 size paper, so I have that selected. I'm going to click Send to Printer. Now, it's not going to print right away. I want to do a few things here just to make sure that everything's set the way I need it to be. First off, I make sure that I have the correct printer selected, which is my Epson EcoTank 2720. I'll link an EcoTank down below. They don't make this model anymore. I'm going to turn off Bleed. All that does is it pushes the color out from the edges of your design. So it pushes it out from the edges of the sticker, which are just white, but it will also push out that black, and we don't want it to do that. Then I want to use my system dialog so that I can make sure I get a really good quality print, and you can do that too. You highly recommend that because it's going to give you a better print. Click Print, and again, not going to send to your printer right away. It is going to take a second and think about what it's doing, and then it's going to open up your printer dialog box. Once your printer dialog box is open, make sure that the correct printer is selected and click Preferences. From here, I want to change my document size to my A4. And then I want to change from plain paper to premium presentation paper matte. Change my quality from standard to high. And then I go under more options and I turn off high speed print. If for some reason you do not have all of these options, when you go to your printer preferences, go to your manufacturer's website, so whoever makes your printer, find your printer drivers and reinstall them. Likely when you installed your printer, your drivers were not fully installed. Then from here, you can click print to send it to your printer. Before we get started with any cutting, I want to cut my sheet down into the small rectangle. We're going to do this first before we begin cutting, because I want to use this section to do some test cuts, so I can show you how to use that to determine how you're going to cut your design. So this paper cutter is awesome. I love it. It has a little wire that actually helps you line everything up versus like my other one that does not have that wire. Now I want you to note that this did pull in a little like not straight, so I'm not using this edge to see that it's straight. I'm using the wire in this to check its straightness, and I just wanted to cut right on the edge. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to lock this, and then all I want to do is slide this up and cut. So it's a pretty thick paper, so you'll see like it did cut it, but I had to kind of bend it to get it to cut it, you know, all the way through. So that's why I want to make sure I use this to do some test cutting with my Cricut Joy, because I want to make sure that it is going to cut correctly. So again, I'm just using that wire inside here to line it up. That looks good. And I'm just going to pull that. And like I said, see, it did cut it. It's cut. It's just thick. It's really, really thick. So because of that, it is not the easiest to cut through, but this one should pop off here in just a second. Voila. Not perfect, but it'll do. It's fine. Then I'm going to cut the rest of this apart, and then we'll show you how to do a test cut. Our first extremely important task is to do some test cuts, which is why we saved the scraps from our cutting. So I'm just going to put this on my mat. Currently I'm just testing this with the chalkboard vinyl setting, so we'll see how that one does. All I'm going to do is cut a little bit of a star, nothing fancy, and we'll see how well it cuts. Now, my little trick is I always put my star down here. That way I don't have to unload it right away. I can just take a second. But I just want to see how this cut. I don't think it cut very well. I can't get my pin pen under it. I can only get it under like the very like edge section. It's not even like through the whole sticker. Can you see how I can't pull that up? So I'm going to unload this, and I'm going to use a heavier cut setting. I'm going to try the cutaway card and backer setting for this, and I just realized I didn't move my star. So I will fix that in just a second. All right, we've used a heavier setting, so let's see how that one did. I still don't think it's great, and that was a pretty heavy setting for the Joy, but let's just sort of check. Actually, once I got it under there, it's almost perfect, I think. Let me see if it cut through the back. It did not. So honestly, I think that could be the winner. I'm going to cut one more time with that setting just to be sure. All right, let's check this. We let it cut this one more time on that setting just to see what we think. Honestly, I think that's it. So this is the cutaway card plus backer setting, and I think it works perfectly. Now that we've printed and done our test cuts, we have to do one more step over here in Design Space so that the Joy can actually cut these. The first thing you'll want to do is change your machine from your Maker or your Explorer, whatever you chose, over to your Cricut Joy. Now you're going to notice that you get a red exclamation point. If you click it, it just says that not supported by Joy, print and cut, totally fine. Now what I personally like to do is I'm actually going to duplicate this so that I have an extra one just over to the side that I'm not going to mess with. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to hide everything that is part of this duplicated section. That way we just don't have it in the way and it's not going to be something we're going to mess with. But we have it in case something goes wrong. Next thing that we're going to do is we want to select each of these items, and I have to unflatten each of my designs. Now, did I have to flatten them before? Probably not, since we're not actually cutting them, but I prefer to do it that way. But you do whatever, you know, works best for you. But I'm going to go ahead and unflatten each of these designs. The next thing that I'm going to do is select everything, and I'm going to change it from print and cut to basic cut. Now you'll notice that we have these outlines around our designs and we don't want that. So what I want to do is I'm going to go to combine and I'm going to choose weld. I need to actually do some contouring on this as well, and I'll show you in just a second why we have to do that. So right now it looks fine. Like you've noticed, it's just the silhouettes. It looks like it's going to cut perfectly. But when I click on the make option, you're going to see there's a couple like little holes. You see those little white dots? I don't want it to cut those at all. So I'm going to go back really quick. I'm going to select my weld result and I'm going to go to contour. And all I'm going to do is find the little tiny holes that are in my design. So you can see these little itty bitty spots. Just click on each of those and that's just going to fill those little holes in. So now when I click make, you're not going to see any of those little holes. Now, let me explain to you just a little bit so that you kind of understand why we did all the different steps that we did. You see this line right here? That line is actually going to be the same line that we drew with our pen. And each of these little silhouettes of the ghosts is where it's going to cut. So that's going to cut around each of our stickers. And the reason that it knows where to cut, even though we don't have registration lines, is because we drew that little square and we also printed it. So that when we cut this out and kind of made it that smaller piece and did, you know, all of that, it made it so that it was this section. Now, all we have to do from here is click continue and set this to cut to the cut setting that we found that worked great, which was the cutaway card with backer. Now I'm going to take you over and show you this cutting on our Cricut Joy. What I want to do now is I want to line this up and I want it to be up and down, like straight, and I want to line it up best I can with the square or the rectangle here that we put on to our mat. Now I can see that's not lined up, so I just want to move it a little bit. I like to use like one corner and one side to kind of get this lined up. Now this is one of those projects that may take you a couple tries to get right. I still have only done it a couple times. It's come out pretty good almost every time. So now we'll bring the Joy back in. I'm going to get you a better view of our Joy cutting this so that you can really see what it's doing. The first thing we need to do is to load the mat with those stickers in. And then I'm going to hit go over on the computer. And it will start cutting out our designs. Now that it's complete, we can check our cut, and I always do that with my little pin pen. And I just want to make sure, sorry I bumped you, I want to make sure that it cut through. It looks like it did. I'm going to go ahead and unload these. And first we're going to look at just the sticker sheet. If we can get it to focus. They're so cute. You can see the cuts. I'm going to go ahead and peel these off to the backing like off of them so that you can see what they look like. Okay, I'm going to take these off the mat just like I do anything else. I always flip the mat over. I do have a couple spots where it cut a little deep, but I think it'll be just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and peel the whole backing off of it so that you can see the stickers better, and that's assuming I can even peel the backing because obviously I'm not that talented. But look at how good these came out. And from a Cricut Joy, like they came out so good. They are cut so nice and even, so beautifully. I'll peel one off here too so you can get a better look at it. Look how good that cut. So nice, so even. I think it looks so stinking cute. These are awesome. I'm gonna give you a little bit closer view. I am so thrilled with how these turned out, but just note, I did make many a mistake before I got them to turn out this good. So when you try this, don't get upset if your first few don't turn out great. It takes a little bit of time to get used to lining everything up on the mat and getting everything nice and even. This awesome glow-in-the-dark paper is from Hayes, and you can always use code Corinne to save 15% off. I will link it down below. Now, I hope that you guys learned some tips and tricks for this, and I hope you will try it out. Let me know if you have any questions down below about this or anything else, or if there's a specific tutorial that you want to see done with any of the Cricut machines, but especially the Cricut Joy. This machine really isn't my favorite, as you all know, but I do love coming up with ways for those of you who have the Cricut Joy to do some of the things that we can do with our larger Cricuts. I did release a video about how you can engrave with your Cricut Joy and your Joy Extra, which I will link above for you and down in the video's description below, along with my Cricut Joy playlist. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, happy crafting.